So I'm going to be checking out the Magician Alpha. I need to get inside and get the code off of the controller to report back. And so I figured that I would just go ahead and let you guys have a look while I do this. Tools are out, and I'm trying to also get a better grip on the old live sessions here. So let's go for this ride. I'm gonna go ahead and turn around the bike and then get it on the stand so I can get inside the controller housing. She's steady. She's heavy, I know that. Oh my goodness. Hey Sean, yeah, we're definitely gonna try and get our hands on one of those. Right now it's the Alpha. I haven't even ridden this thing, to be honest. Brad's ridden it at the shop. We unboxed it yesterday, and I gotta get some data from the controller. Yes, the auto lift. I feel you. Brad, I definitely want one of those for sure. I don't know. I think this may break the weight limit though. And I also am unsure of the orientation here, so I have it turned around from drive side, and then if I have to pull it or turn the bike around, I will. And I may have to put up the shade for this thing because the sun is coming out. I think so. I really do believe that the Mini is going to be there. I'm interested to see if Wired will try and compete. Sean, it is quiet. Let me see if I can turn it on. I'll shove my mic up next to it. Brad, that was the very first thing he said. It was just super quiet. I couldn't hear it when I was riding next to him. Here, let's see if I can do this. I have no idea. Okay, let me get in here. So I have to get the controller number and then the serial number off of the display back to Magician. This is a bike out of the first batch and requires the update. So they need some stuff, and I said I would be happy to oblige, because this is the kind of thing I love doing. I do love riding the bikes, but I like working on them too. I'm curious if I'm gonna have to pull this. Most of the wiring is on this side, so I'm hopeful that I don't have to get in on the other side to get what I need, or to release it enough to get what I need. This thing is real and tangible. I don't know if anybody notices, but it's not a scam. There's that. It's always a bonus, especially when you can stop the nonsense with real proof. Ooh, Lord, look how big that is. All right, I'm taking off this crank arm. Maybe. Maybe taking off the crank arm. I'm gonna slam my hands into this thing. I can feel it. Whew. That's gonna be rough. How can I do this? Programming cable. Balancer. Let's see. Motor cable, yes, yes, and all those yeses. I may have to undo this to get slack to even pull it out. So I'm undoing the motor cable now. There's a lot of unused attachments in here. Ooh, Lord. It's a packed house. I really want this out. Now, I've seen these, not to say that this is a problem with theirs, but the housing on these balancers will just inflate and then they go bad. This is what Wired had, and they decommissioned that and switched to the DBVs. So it'll be interesting to see what the future holds for these. Oh, Lord. That was rough. Put my glove on because I knew I'd be tearing up my knuckles. Brad, definitely not a scam. Damon, good morning, sir. That was the balancer. We're not going to change anything in terms of factory. This is a packed house. It's like really stacked in here. Let me see if I can make it better for you guys to see. It's really crammed. Late to the game. It's all right. I appreciate your interest and participation, bud. Yeah. One person. Yes, the pre-order was a scam. The bike is a scam. The 72 volts is too dangerous, but 60 volts at 40 plus miles an hour is a-okay. Whatever. Anyway, the thing I do like about this is the way that this thing is just built. Like the suspension is pretty sleek, and it's compact and it's fortified. And I sat on it, it felt good, and then the rest of what I know is what Brad told me. And he liked it. One of the things we're trying to deal with now is some feedback for the app updates. And then I want to show you guys, interestingly enough, they're using the mini J connectors like eCells did for the display. It's Joulettes for the other stuff, but there are some mini J connectors in here. And it looks like this is actually battery info. Like there's a point in time where they're gonna come for battery info, but I have no idea. This isn't hooked up. This is a 3-pin. And you guys, the sun is coming out, so give me a minute. I need to put up the shade or I'm gonna get baked. The sun kind, not the other kind. There we go. There we go. Whew. Oh my goodness. All these little things. Easy E. How you living, bud? Okay. Let's get in here. Get these loose. Take that loose. Get some slack on the motor or the controller. I can take off my weird glove now. Oh, Lord. All right. I need a moment to gather that and scan it. My phone is being used. I have to come in with the old iPad. There we go. Perfect. This thing looks like a freaking computer. Phased out. Very interesting. So these are live leads straight away. This controller like reminds me of the Emoto stuff. It also looks like they're like these remind me specifically. So if you guys remember E-cells, they had battery metrics. So when these were plugged in, there were charge ports to go back. So there was dual charging, which I wonder if that's it. But when I look at this, I'm just like, ooh, that's probably not big enough. That gauge isn't big enough for that. So I wonder if there's signal wiring, but they were not hooked up when I got inside here. So you can see this thing is pretty robust, but very unconventional from what you see with the normal e-bike stuff. I'm gonna go ahead and undo this and get it from this wraparound. So that looks like main cable harness for control. Or not. What is that? That's torque sensor right there. Unused, which is a 3-pin, so maybe like a, well, I would say that 3 would be PAS on a cadence. This is your main cable harness up to the display. This thing is a lot, and it spans the whole width of the housing as well. So when you get in here, there are 3 connections that I see that are not being used. 2 for battery communication, 1 front, 1 rear, and then I am unsure what's going on here. Lighting is hooked up, so I know that can't be it. Maybe turn signals? I don't know. Let's go ahead and get this back in here. But here's the Mini J that I was telling you about. This is not what's up on the dash, but there is the 5-pin version of this Mini J that is used on the main harness. I'll show you guys that once I get this back in. Huh. All right, belt-fed shooters. One, don't mention the name. We just don't want to give that any kind of credence. Lost credibility all the way through, but you're right. It's selective amnesia for some things. It's only those things that work out for that content creator that they feel like they want. It takes a special kind of person to talk about all these problems, and then what you realize is in every one of those videos, that person is doing nothing but running their yap. You never see any data, you never see anything come across, you never see that person working on these things or checking them. Like, it's something else. You know, I've been in batteries, gone and visited Scott, and we've put APIS on blast, we've done a lot of stuff. They didn't appreciate, I don't think they liked that I work with Scott Hardesty, but in all reality, I have conversations with a lot of the influencers named. It's stupid. Very, very stupid. All right. I find it incredibly frustrating that that individual admonished all of these bikes and all of these voltage classes, and then straight away goes and shows attendance at Electrified Expo with Onyx after they did pre-order. It's like, oh, just whatever suits your fancy. You just do whatever you do. All right, packed house in here, you guys, so if you're doing it, be careful. You gotta make sure that on every one of these runs, it's not gonna come around. Also, before you button it up, make sure that you have enough extension here for your motor. One thing I really never mention is always have about a bajillion zip ties on hand because they help. Todd, go check out Scott's video. They were claiming 21700 cells inside the M2 and M1 Pro. We cracked that thing open and verified that there are 18650s as labeled inside the housing. It caused quite a stir. Apis immediately reached out to Scott, did request that he take down the video, but there's also the fact that they were claiming UL certification, but they only have certification for, I think, the folder, the A2, I think. So just a lot of misinformation coming off the website. And I truly believe it's a difference in the marketing, right? Their marketing team and whoever's doing website is not talking to the engineers. So if you have design specs that come out in the beginning, you give those to your website team, allow them to build around it. If something changes along the way or in mid-model and that doesn't get appropriately relayed, or if it's not captured, then who's to know, right? It's not expected that every website builder is going to be an e-bike guru and know exactly what they're writing when they write it down. So my suspicion is that that was the case, but regardless, they were claiming things that were not true on the website. Now, a lot of these companies say, like, passed the UL test or done all that stuff. And they do that, right? They test their stuff to UL standards, but it's not certified. It's not SGS certified. It's certainly not UL certified. And so I along with Scott, believe that they should be very, very forthcoming with accurate information and tell the truth, right? If you're not UL certified, don't say you are. You can say you've passed a test to the standard, but you need to be explicit in what it is that you're saying, right? If the structural standard is it can withstand so much weight at such an impact and you test that, then you say it. And if that's at a UL standard, you say it has passed a structural test to that standard, but you don't say that it's UL certified. That's the difference. And what you'll notice with companies like Electric and all these others, they'll say certified to, right? And then they know that they have the standard across the board for the bikes, but another certification company does it like SGS. And then there's one that starts with a T that Aventon uses. I can't remember the name of it. Brad Twist, like tell him about that stand that you were talking about. So Todd, you know, Scott still stands behind Apis. He said, you know, it's the recommended bike regardless. It's just don't, right? As an influencer, if the influencer doesn't have my mindset or want to do the things that I do, you're going to have to take their word for it. And what we're finding a lot right now is there is a big range of rounding, I don't want to call them rounding errors, but you know, if it's anything over 20 amp hours in a battery, they're shooting to say 25 on the specs. Even this bike, if you look at the current output listed on the website at 58, multiply that by 84, I believe that's under 5,000 watts at peak output, right? That's not 5,000 watts, but they do claim that it is 5,000 watts peak. So a lot of these things can be undone with some simple math, and it's on the higher end. It's like 4,600 plus, so that's not one that I'm worried about. It's when, you know, you're paying for every amp hour, and, you know, for the difference between a 15 amp hour and a 20 amp hour battery in cost, you want to make sure that you get that. And for Apis, it is the claim that 21,700 cells are being used when they're not. Is it really that big of a deal? No, because you can write a configuration and then build up your capacity at 17.5. But when you start really getting into it, you start to notice that the configuration of series and parallel for the individual cells in a battery will let you know if the math ain't mathin'. And that's what's going on with me, and I'm pretty obsessive about it. I just don't like talking about it because I don't want to be that certain somebody that spouts off without knowing. So I'm going to open it up and I'm going to look and I'm going to check. And I guess that's the difference between credibility and not. Okay, if you guys want to stick around, I'm gonna get this buttoned up, and then I'm gonna take you up top and show you the connections. Reason being will be so that you can see it's possible for thumb throttle, I believe, and then let you see what's on the harness. Todd, they hooked it up. It's good when you got a good community around you and everybody just takes care of everyone. I will not be loading this with thread lock. Oh my gosh, that was brutal. Look at it, it's just stacked. where this is the part where I bring out the torque wrench to spec. Yeah. All right, you guys, make sure not to over tighten these. Nothing too crazy here. It is not waterproof. Keep that in mind. When we looked at the Discover 2 from King Bull, it had those seals on it, but even that wasn't there in terms of waterproof tight fit, but that's pretty nice. Went on nice and easy, and everything except for this crank arm was generally okay. Okay, let me show you guys what's going on here. Now this feels almost like an afterthought, and looking at how this was wrapped, but I understand it. It gives a nice protection here. But that neoprene sleeve, the one from our universal throttle, the one that Wire gives, I think I would prefer that over this wrap. Okay, so when we went to do it, there's a split off of the display you see here, and then that is where you see the Mini J. Not that big of a deal, but it's going to really lock you into the Bafang setups. Your aftermarket selection is not going to be that great, if at all, unless it is Bafang, but that's the beauty of it. Bafang is so daggum big. Let's see what else. The throttle has the button to turn it on and off, which may have been why I could not get the daggum thing to go. Last time I dealt with one of these, it was on the, there it is, yeah, that's exactly what it was. I always forget about these. I never think about them. Jeremy now has the Aerial Rider Grizzly that I first saw it on, and yeah, it's one of those, like, something's broken. It's really not, it's just the switch is off. All right, so what was I talking about? All right, 3-pin Gillette, which means that we will be able to add the aftermarket thumb throttle if you're feeling that. And the lighting system, as discovered yesterday, is 12 volts. So your light is basically the same. On the back side of this, Brad was saying that it looked like it had the horn assembly in it, which would be interesting, but there is no horn button and there's no turn signal button. But strangely enough, you come back here, it looks like it has turn signal capabilities. So I would be interested to know what we can get in there and do. There are just 2 positions on the lever for the rear shock, so keep that in mind. So there's lockout here, and then suspension. I can give it my best tail happy impression. Actually, I like the way Scott does it. He's like, oh, and you can lock it out in a very professional manner. But this thing, look at this. Right? There's no, it doesn't come out, and you don't have the awkward shock right through the middle of it. There's a nice triangle here. I'm wondering about this space. You guys can imagine where my mind's going right now with that. Finding the battery that would work with that sort of thing, problematic. And you saw how much space there is not inside here, so who knows. Looks like they've taken the track for the rear rack, which is pretty good. We like this. The spacing of it, though, really puts a lot of pressure here. It's not like the rack is resting fully on the seat stay. So only time will tell for that one. Kickstand is badass. I think I've seen some stuff where these are breaking. Y'all let me know. the forks. What did we pulled the fork and it's tapered. So this fork is actually tapered at the bottom. It's not the straight bar like you see on the wired bikes. We tested that. The light will work for 12 volts, and we are actually trying to source the dual crown fork with the through axle so that we can put some gold rims on these bad boys. So we'll see how it goes. Seat's pretty good. This is a big battery for only 10 amp hours. So I think I'm happy about it because it reduces a little bit of the weight. The whole clearance situation here between the back of the seat and the rear rack is good. The bars are good. Brad was really happy with the grips because, you know, when your hands get sweaty because you're holding on for dear life on a high-speed e-bike, he says he just doesn't want to slip. And what you have on those ergonomics is when your hands get sweaty on them, they start to slip on the grip. It's just a fatter grip on them, but he likes this kind of racy lock-on grips. So we were not expecting that, but got them, and it's pretty good. Very simple controls. Very familiar Bafang setup as well. You can change the theme on these. You do have to get in and do the update, like I said, over the air. The app is moderately intuitive. You just kind of need to go down the line, but it's not terrible. What do y'all think about the color? I like it. That angle is ridiculous, but it's good because you know it's going to help keep the wobble out. I'm going to set this up and see if y'all are talking, answer a couple questions if there are any in the comments, and then wrap this up because it is hot already. Hot, and the Bucks are playing at 1. Let me see. See if I can do this on camera. Oh. Yes, I can. Holy moly, guys, it's freaking hot. So generation e-bikes, I am planning to try and get something for Brad. I know that Brad would definitely want it. Jeremiah, it was scraping. We decided to run a seat before we went anywhere, but when we unboxed yesterday, it was at 21%. And I think that, you know, you get so excited to unbox these things and do it, and I like to get him first impression straight out of the box. Also, for whatever reason, the Predator video went well straight out of the box versus the review, although I botched the damn charger current. I was reading the overall from the output for alternating at 5 amps versus the 3.5, which is the direct current charge rate for the batteries. Got called out for that. Thank you very much for that person, because I need to admit, acknowledge, and correct my mistakes. But so the thought process yesterday was get him on film and do the thing. And then as we were doing the over-the-air update, I was actually talking to Magician at the same time. I was like, probably need some help with a couple of these things. So they want the serial number off of the controller itself, and they wanted the one off of the display. And so I said I would oblige. And then, of course, I like to take the opportunities that I have. Sunday morning is kind of like the relaxed day. It's also the day when I like to work on bikes. And then there's this notion of actually working with you. If I film it and it's not live, that means I have to edit it, which means I'm signing up anywhere from 2 to 5 hours of time or more. So I know that's a lot of words up to this point. GoFundMe for a lift. Yes. Outdoor. I need 2. I need one for the shop, make Brad happy, and then one for the outdoors here. I'll just move it in and out on my little shell pad. Todd, I hope that your questions were answered about Apis, I don't have any problem recommending the bike, but I do have a problem with not accurately representing specs. So that does go for a Magician, but I understand that there's a general tendency within the industry to round up. we'll call it rounding up, and it happens everywhere. But some things just you don't do. I actually pulled apart an Amya S8, and they, looking at it, feeling the weight, I was like, I wonder if this is true. Opened it, and it's 21700s, but when you look at the configuration, the battery is labeled as a 25 amp hour, and the best I can calculate is 22.5 amp hours. So I'm waiting to hear back from Amyet about that before we go into review for those. I know this sounds strange, you guys, but I have yet to ride this thing. I've sat on it, I've kind of pushed it around, rolled it through the shop, done the thing, but I haven't ridden it at all. The OTA was, I believe, for cruise control. So that over-the-air adjustment is what that means. Over-the-air authorization, I don't know. OTA is over the air, yes. So over the air update is what it is, and it does it via Bluetooth from the Bafang Go app to your bike based upon serial number. And the best I can tell is if the controller info within the display, where you go into the display settings and you look at controller info, if it has test on it, the update will provide a version that doesn't have the word test. Mine said test 03. And then that will be the differentiation to let you know that you had it. Another thing about the OTA update is that if you have bad signal or it's just not strong enough, you have to be extremely patient. There's the synchronization of the firmware with the bike itself and the synchronization of the app with the bike while it's doing the update. So it's going to feel like it's not responding at all. So just take your time. There will be a moment where you have to decide if you guys actually do go to sync and you see your bike and you see something else. Mine was the one that started with the letter C. I actually had 2 Bluetooth items that showed up from this bike itself, which was interesting. That is in question, so they're going through the paces to check all this out. I don't anticipate much issue. I have never used cruise control in my entire life, not once. That's what the throttle's for, in my opinion, so we'll see how it goes. So Stuart, the Alpha Mini, all right, they're going to have to wind that thing up. You have to think about the diameter of the wheels. A 20-incher with the same motor, you're going to have a lot more revolutions or you lose speed, which speaks a lot to it, right? So you're going to get a heck of a lot of torque because you're going to get torque out of that, but your torque arm, if you think about the diameter of the wheel and then the radius of the wheel, that's your torque arm, and it's easier to turn. You get a lot more off a larger radius. But when you're looking at speed, the revolutions for the smaller wheel diameter is going to have to be a lot more to be on pace with what you're seeing for something like this bike. Correct me if I'm wrong, I think maximum charge got up to, what, 48, 49. The Bike Cave, same thing, top 40s. I don't remember what Matt from Tail Happy did, but I know he was out there. It was speculated that he was an owner of Magician. In the influencers' comments of the videos that we shall not talk about, but that was debunked. I asked that immediately when I saw it, so we crushed that like a bug. Definitely not one of those things we want to do. So 45 for the Mini, so you imagine, right, I would say a 4 mile an hour loss that's still wound up. They've got a higher revolution count. Something is going to be a little bit greater inside the controller for the 20-incher to make sure that it works. And it gets to that speed. I don't know if you guys noticed, but look at these rings on the wheels. I don't remember exactly what the eyelets on the rims. Check this out. And then we did pull back a tire. They are double wall, and those spokes are massive too. Let's see, you can see there's like separate eyelets on the rim itself. Okay, it's hot. I think it's close enough to noon that I can start consulting or considering a beer. And so I appreciate you guys coming and hanging out with me. Does anybody have any more questions? I did get some good advice. I often talk to you guys through the comments and I never repeat what the questions are. So we'll see how it goes. Steve in Paris, you're on your magician now. I hope you enjoy. I am actually going to take this for a ride to where I'm going to go watch the Bucks game. I'm going to see Baker Mayfield kick the crap out of whoever they're playing, hopefully. I prefer him to win it before the fourth quarter in the last 2 minutes, but you know, do your thing, man. Anybody else? Mr. Twist, please and thank you. Let me know when the GoFundMe gets there. I'm in such dire straits in need of a rack that will hold these heavy bikes and not force my old ass body to lift them up. I will leave links for the bike. If you guys are considering this bike, I definitely say it's worthwhile. If noise is a consideration, the smoothness is definitely something to keep in mind. These are the words of Brad. Super smooth, super quiet. And then you know that because it's got Bafang components, that there will be a long-standing support there, even beyond Magician. So that'll be worthwhile. It's actually syncing to the Bafang Go app, not Magician created app or anything else. It is Bafang stuff. So the component selection is really good. Not to take away from Hintok or Hingtai. I do like those motors and I like the way they sound. But they are a bit, we'll call them noisy, but I like to think that they provide the necessary alerts to let you know I'm coming through, and that's worthwhile. At 20 miles an hour, class 2, 750 watts. By the way, this thing has that sticker too. It's right here. 750 watt class 2 e-bike. Sure thing. All right, who else is here? All right, guys, I hope you enjoy your Sunday. You guys leave some more comments in the video. Let us know. I think this transitions out into a normal video, so the comments go there. And if you want to see these, you actually have to make a directed effort to see the comments for the live video itself. I appreciate you guys hanging with me. I always wonder, whether this is worthwhile or not. So every time you're here and you're talking to me, it's like, oh, that's good enough. It's like hanging out with the dudes and talking. If there are any ladies here, I don't mean it to be anything other than hanging out with a good group of people. We'll talk to you next time.